What's good, everybody? It's your boy TBT, aka the Brainless Trader. We back. Hopefully, y'all can hear my mic. Got a new mic. We back. And we about to get it rolling. I'm just gonna give y'all a quick 10-minute market review, and then got videos coming, God willing, this week. Hopefully, a live video we can get in front of the charts, in front of y'all, and really trade at the same time. So. As I was kind of talking about last week, we had price coming up into this fair value gap. So if you've seen now, price still has, tested this most recent order block and still hasn't really finished above this fair value gap. So if we just kind of backtrack and go to the DXY, we can see what's going on there. We've kind of got similar action as far as the DXY in that this past week, I guess this would be this past week, we kind of dipped a little bit into the fair value gap, right? So this weekly movement right here, we have to see, because when I told y'all about the breaker last week, right, I told y'all there was a breaker up here. Price basically went up, tested the breaker, didn't close past it, you see this, and then came back down. So I thought that was interesting. This is a 4-hour breaker. So we go to the 4-hour, we can see it a little bit better. 4-hour breaker, right? High, low, higher, high. And then we're looking at price having essentially tested the midpoint a couple times. Here, tested the midpoint. And then now we're backtracking again. Here, get rid of these. I'll give a video about what those are soon, God willing. But yeah, look at this, touch the midpoint and gone down again. So now this makes me think lower prices DXY potentially, which would be higher prices in foreign currency, but that is against my general bias that I outlined last week Sunday. So it's like, okay, we kind of got to wait and see what happens. I said in a community post that I was anticipating price to attack these lows here if we're going to really see some change in direction with this sustainment of the midpoint consequential encroachment of this breaker. So we just really gonna have to see, because we did get this liquidity level here, but if you look to your left, you got a nice fair value gap, and then you got a nice order block here that could launch price back in the other direction. Similarly here, you got a fair value gap, and then you got lowest down close order block here. So either of those could be a turning point for the market to continue back into a bullish direction, which would be in line with what my bias was last week, which was bullish DXY, bearish foreign currency. And the reason why I'm really still encouraged bearish foreign currency is this. You saw what happened this past week. Now, I did have a trade set up that was setting up, and I just didn't take any trades. So I'm really trying to get back in the groove of trading, just because I have been focused on my job, and so it's been a lot of stuff that I really haven't been paying attention to in the market. But this is why I'm coming back. Second week in a row, market review. I'm trying to be consistent and make sure that I'm bringing videos to y'all, which is helping me as well, just to engage with the market. So if we back up and go to the daily chart, actually no, let's go to the weekly chart. I have this fair value gap, and we can get into the trend line phantom, but I have this fair value gap. Why is it doing that? Right here, right? Oh no, I don't want to zoom in, thank you. I've got this fair value gap. Oh, that's weird. Right here, and price still hasn't really made its way definitively above it, although price essentially on the weekly chart has finished in the midst of this gap, like in the middle of the fair value gap, right? So I'm like, okay, I gotta kind of check and see what's going on. So as we go down to the lower time frames in GU, we can get into what I saw with the trendline phantom and everything. But essentially, this is where we had started last week. Pretty sure. No, we started here last week. Yeah. So you saw this movement, right? Let's just get rid of. No, let's get rid of the trend line phantom for now. and then we'll come back to it. So we saw this bullish candle. Wait a minute. This bullish candle, right? Try to creep above the fair value gap. And then we just didn't see any true sustained movement. I mean, you saw this candle kind of go back and forth. I can move that fair value gap thing out the way here so we can actually see. All right, and then you get this candle that kind of touched the top of that fair value gap and comes back down, and then you just got basically trading back and forth within the fair value gap. Now the fact that this candle went so far low and rejected this area, this order block essentially, right, is encouraging for the bullish direction, which would be in line with what we saw in the DXY. So we just have to pay attention to that and see what's going to develop, what's the clearest move, right? Because that's what happened on Friday. We got a liquidity run here, and this is where I can put my trend line phantom back. If it'll give it to me. There you go. Okay. So put the trend line phantom back. What I was looking at was essentially, and it actually did happen. I just wasn't in position to trade it. So what I was looking at as a potential trade was this last week. Trend line forming. Price broke the trend line. We had, it looks like I have a 1 hour breaker here. Oh, and this is so essentially what all this is, right, this little indicator, which is this one, it's the Asian range, Nico 948. Essentially what it does is it gives me the Asian range. And so, I'm going to go through the Asian range sniper video from ICT and kind of explain how I use it. With these, all I do is I use the Asian range. Essentially what he talks about is when price goes above the 12 o'clock open, right? If you're bearish, if price goes above the 12 o'clock open, you're looking for trades in line with PD arrays that will send it back down, right? Similarly, if you're bullish, if price goes below the 12 o'clock open, right? So if we zoom in here, I kind of have my 12 o'clock open tabulated by the highlighted. So this is my 12 o'clock, and this is the entire Asian range. I know that if I'm bullish and price goes below the 12 o'clock open, which means below here, I would be looking for trade entries anywhere below here in line with maybe it, price touching a PD array over to the left, which is what I explained to you with that order block, right? Or even like a liquidity run, right? You get a liquidity run, then you got a fair value gap. Look, the price doesn't finish past it, then you got a nice little order block over here too, right? These two down close candles, lowest two down close candles, price actually goes all the way down with this and actually touches it, but doesn't finish but above here in the fair value gap, right? So that would be a way for me to look for trades, and that's kind of how I use these. Now this essentially is just telling me what session I'm in, because ICT talks about using only PD arrays that come from the London and the that are developed in the London and the New York session, because those would be the strongest ones, because that is when everyone is usually trading. That's when the most influx volume, all that is in the market. So that is when it would be more likely that one of those PD arrays would be activated to use, in terms of making a trade. So as you see, these PD arrays formed in what was the London session back on Thursday, October 13th. And so that essentially allows them to be even more you can use any PD arrays from any session, but when you use PD arrays that come from the London or the New York session, it makes them more viable to use for trades. More, I guess you could say they're going to influence the market a little bit more than a PD array from the Asian range. Okay, so yeah, that's really all those indicators. They're not really indicators. I mean, I guess you could say they are, but they just help me kind of use different strategies that ICT has. Like there's a lot of indicators that people have for like fair value gaps and stuff like that. I would rather look at my fair value gaps and find them for myself, so that I can be one with the market and kind of be in tune. But back to the trend line phantom, I kind of saw that price was potentially going to break. I was anticipating it to happen on this day here, but it didn't. It ended up happening on the next day at 2 a.m. And as you saw, there was also a small breaker here, right? There was a high, low, higher, high, a small breaker there that I was intending on using, And so essentially I ended up not really seeing this because this happened really early in the morning, but could have probably seen if I was in it. If we go down maybe to the 15-minute, there's a potential for trades here, right? So you see price finishing below the breaker right here. This is 3 a.m. and then again 6 a.m. again 10:30. That would have been a nice trade for me, especially this pairing up with this fair value gap here. If we look, this pairing up with this fair value gap here and this order block would have been a nice little trade for me to take right here, right after this green candle kind of goes and touches the midpoint of the order block, basically runs out liquidity. Then you would have had a nice little run past whatever this is. Price ends up going all the way there. That's like I probably would have entered after this candle somewhere. So you're looking at plenty of pips, 30, 40, 50, plenty of pips. So I don't know what I was doing that day that I didn't pay attention to that trade, but that's essentially my setup that I like to use, especially if the breaker is in conjunction with like a trendline phantom or something, or even a mitigation or a trendline phantom and a mitigation. I like all that because it just gives me more confluence. And then when I see price kind of slowly cascading with lower highs, high, lower high, lower high, then boom, I like that. So I just gotta get back in tune with the market because GU just moves so much that you really gotta just be paying attention to the small ranges. And so you kind of see a similar move here with the liquidity run, right? And I didn't even see this until just now. Liquidity run, high, low, higher, high, breaker, right? And then price doesn't even touch the breaker. But the thing is, the breaker forms in one day and then it doesn't really get touched into the afternoon or even respected until like the next day. So it's just kind of, you got to just be aware, of when stuff is forming, and then when you can see it, then trade it. If you don't see it in the time frame that's workable for you, then it is what it is. All that to say that I'm still bearish on foreign currency and bullish on the DXY, bearish on the foreign currency until foreign currency really gives me a sustained movement above this fair value gap, this weekly fair value gap that we had, that I showed in the beginning of this on GU. So I'm the same on EU. EU is a little bit clearer, but even still, it's like the only thought I have that it may go bullish is just the fact that this rejected all this down here. But I need to get on the weekly. But even still, it came all the way down here. And yeah, get rid of that. And it came all the way up here as well. You feel me? So I'm just like, I don't know. And ICT says when you don't know, you just sit back and you wait until it's clear. Because if we're really gonna go bullish, then we're gonna be going up and attacking this fair value gap and these highs, right? So that is the idea. And then again, this fair value gap and these highs, right? Those would be our next targets. So if price gives me sustained movement, meaning it closes above here and then rejects this fair value gap area and continues to the top, then okay, I'll become bullish at that point and be looking for price to do something around this area. So I would take trades up until this fair value gap area, and then I would have to just wait and see, because I'm still, depending on how that DXY look, I'm still bullish on this DXY until I see the same thing happen, where this fair value gap here is traded past and this order block is traded past, and I see sustained movement, price trade back up into this order block fair value gap zone and continue downward, right? And the next targets would be fair value gap, this low, or this low, this fair value gap, or this low, this fair value gap. So I need to be patient and wait for that, because that's going to allow me to have clean trades rather than guessing. So that's all I got today. I'm not even going to go over EU because I got church right now, so getting ready for church. And yeah, so much love to y'all. Hopefully this was a little bit helpful. We'll catch you guys on the next one. See you. Here, this is facts. I enter right here. It's a demo, but I'm just showing you my executions. I enter right here after the impulse. We already talked about why I entered. I entered because of a order block on the higher time frame, 15-minute, and fair value gap, and I waited for a lower high, got in on the impulse. Boom. I waited until price gave me what I wanted price-wise, till I got to my goal. You don't have to wait all day, all right? Me personally, with a 10 lot size, trading the FTMO $100,000 account, if I can get $2,000 to $3,000 in a day, I am so happy. If I can get $1,000 profit in a day, and that's all it gives me, I'm fine with that, okay? It's all about stacking profits up day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. It ain't about big profits. Now, I left the trading because my stops are the profit, and I'm in the same direction as my higher time frame buyers. I have the leverage, okay? I will leave my trade in until price gets to that next level of liquidity, which at the time, what I had been targeting, let's see, what was I, if I can remember, what I had been targeting, to be honest with you, I was targeting this lower sell side liquidity, to be honest with you. But I like to have a modest target in case, you know, that doesn't happen. So I think, where was I? I was, okay, here is where I was it? Alright, I'm a little lost again. Okay, here is where I was. Yes, this is where I had taken the trade, and I was targeting this sell side liquidity, but in all honesty, I knew that there's a fair value gap on the hour right